Is the mic working? Sorry, cleared my throat. Into the mic. Not used to this. The mic working? Sorry, cleared my throat. Into the mic. Not used to this. Awesome. There's a delay. I don't know. It's probably about 6 or 7 seconds between when you can hear me talking and what I say. So, um, if you ask a question and it takes me a little bit to get to it, that is probably why. I'm also eating food right now because it's dinner time, right before the stream, of course. So, yeah, I'm going to turn off the mic and finish my tuna melt, and then I will turn it back on and we will go from there. Alright, so I finished eating my sandwich and I'm about 5 minutes past when I said I'd start, so let's get this thing going. So basically, I'm going to field questions from the chat over there. I'll answer them if I see them. If I miss you, ask it again. This is not a troubleshooting session, so if you've got things to report, that's great. I'll totally listen to them, but I'm probably not going to walk you through how to figure stuff out on this. A few people in the community will attest that I do. If you get a hold of me, I will stream to try to walk you through stuff, but that's just kind of not what this is for. So, How long have I been modding games in general? Um, 20-ish years. I started writing mods in Power Basic for Legends of the Red Dragon, which was an old BBS door game. And I started writing plugins for TNM when they did TNM 7, and Oliver allowed for the plugin engine. Yeah, Seth Abel Robinson. Yeah, Legends of the Red Dragon and The Pit were my shit when I was in middle school. Let's start up another match to have some background stuff going on. I'm gonna turn down the sound on Fire Pro though. There we go. Alright, so throw on my second attire, which has a different move set than that is still way too loud. Let's see. Sorry, I'm still kind of new at this, so it takes me a while to figure this crap out. Okay. Let's see how that works. So, like I said, if anybody has any questions, just ask them in the chat. You said NWO and ECW killed your passion for wrestling in real life. I get the former, but how did the later kill it? It just ECW was too real. It just took all of like the mystique, or it focused too much on dumb backstage crap and not enough on just like the silliness of wrestling that I liked as a kid. So I guess with this update, somebody asked before I started the mod if this update really had much impact on the mod suite and the logic changes. The logic is not as complicated as Dave and the director make it out to be. It is definitely a complicated thing, but them changing it doesn't make it that much more difficult for me to do what I do. It just means that I've got to change things to be in the format that they change it to. So this update actually has been one of the most difficult updates that I've had to do for the mod suite, because so much of the routines change that handle how the computer or how the CPU figures out what it's going to do next. So I had to go in and update all of that. They're not more difficult, but they've all changed. So now I have to go and figure out which parts of the mod suite need changing, and which things don't need changing, and which So it's just been a sort of a pain, but it's not really any more difficult than it was when I originally wrote those things. What features are you looking to or looking forward to being included in the world, modded or vanilla? Um, well, I'm going to spoil some things here, I think. So, in the code, there is signboard editing for the crowd. There is a character creator for creating edit parts. There is a move modifier. It's not really a move creator. Um, but I'm definitely looking forward to all of those things being officially implemented. They've all got UI that is game UI. So I'm pretty positive that they're not mod or not developer only tools. So I'm looking forward to seeing like an official implementation of those things. As far as modding, what are your thoughts on fixing the CPU climbing the cage or walking backwards for a tag? Um, I don't think there's anything you can do about walking backward, them being invincible when they're walking backwards for a tag, because it puts them in a separate state. And if you get into character states or wrestler states or player states, as they're called in the code, um, they're not they're not something that I can do much about. So if the character state for moving back to a tag makes them invulnerable to grapples or something like that, then there's nothing that I can really do to change that. As far as climbing the cage, to be honest, I have not looked at the cage climbing logic. I I'm sure it can be fixed, but I don't know for sure how to do it. Um, I could look at it at some point, but I don't really run escape only cage matches, so it hasn't been like a priority thing for me. Set up the next match here to play in the background, and then I will answer some more questions. Yes, create a part is what I'm alluding to. They call it character craft or Kara craft in the code, but it's essentially a mode where you can load up all of like the parts and make changes to them with a paint tool. Move editor is similar to your current editor. No, no, not even close. I don't know whether you can change any of the data that you can change in my move editor. It's mostly an animation changing thing. How did you come up with the whole arm destroying deal for Carlzilla? Um, I don't know. It just I really liked the handshake arm breaker and the Northern Lights suplex to armbar. So when I created my character for Fire Pro D, it was one of the iterations that I did for Carlzilla, and then when the Fire Pro Person Pack was um, introduced, I just carried that character forward. Carlzilla actually got his start as a deathmatch wrestler. Is there a way to add random tags so long as the legal wrestler and partner are around the same health? Um, yes. Yeah. I mean, all you would need to do is instead of checking for health, you would add another check for just on a random number thing. So, yeah, that's totally possible to do. Will there be a move animator, either by yourself or vanilla? No, I won't do one. Spike didn't shit on the idea when it was brought up in one of the official streams, but I don't know whether they will have the time or resources to actually do one. Do I think a GM mode is coming? Yes. There is already evidence of a GM mode in the code. There isn't a menu. It's not accessible to me. It's just that there are methods in the code that have a lot to do with GM mode stuff. Yeah, you can import images in Characraft Frame. Definitely, I've done it. The problem is that anything that you import right now can't be used. It doesn't show up in the edit part menu or anything. It's just like a floating tool right now. What about controlling the camera? New Japan has cool zoom outs when Okada is. Um, I haven't messed with the camera stuff. It's Unity, so the cameras are their own entity, and it's totally possible to move them around. So yeah, it's 100% possible. I just don't. I've never tried it or messed with it really. Korakuen Hall entrances. No. Without Spike adding it, it's not possible. They don't have entrance points that would need to be hard coded. They don't have anything in the enum for entrance types. So, no, they couldn't be modded in. It would have to be something that Spike added. Given the silliness, what are your thoughts on ultra fantasy over the top edits? I like watching them on other people's streams. Zealot has some really good fantasy edits. I know Voodoo, you have some really nice ones. I will never use them in my game. I don't know. It's just not something that I can get into like on a personal level with simming. Is it possible to add tag team ramp taunts in? Yes. I haven't really messed with ramp taunts since they broke them in one of the updates, so I don't even think single player ramp taunts are working right now. Um, but yeah, no, they're possible to do. Are there any new moves hidden in the code that you've seen? Um, no. I mean, yes and no. I mean, the list that was released is still there, and those all of those moves are still coming if they're not already completely done. And I don't think that they are. But there is no, you can't just turn them on. They're not there in the sense that like they exist in the game and they're just waiting for Spike to turn them on. They're just placeholders for them. Can you do the crowd cam thing? Yeah, sure. Like I said, the cameras are their own entity. They have their own positioning in what they call the level or the scene in Unity. So you can change their position on a 3D on all three axes. Um, so yeah, you could totally position a camera there and make it the main camera. Like I said, I've never messed with it, so I am only speaking on theory and not in practice. But it should 100% be possible. Let's see here, and then I'll set up another match. Is there a mod to assign AI difficulty level to each? No, there is not a there's not a way to do that. It's just checked in too many places. Um, you could do it, and I've thought about doing it with an array that just checked against the edit that was calling the AI check, but it just would be such a daunting task that I scrapped it. It was too much. Can the uh, I'm gonna skip the entrances. The music is kind of loud. Um, let's see here. Lost my place. Can the CPU be taught to go for ring apron moves? I had them doing it, but it comes with a problem in that um, if they miss, they will walk endlessly into the ropes until somebody does something to them and breaks their loop. So it's they would hit them like I would say 70% of the time with a grapple, and then obviously that would trigger the apron move. But the problem is that the other 30% of the time they would miss the grapple box, the hitbox for the grapple by a couple of centimeters, and they would just walk endlessly into the ropes, and the other guy would wait on the apron waiting to be grappled, and it would never happen. What is your best era of wrestling? So I'm about 35 years old, so I grew up with the 80s. I started watching wrestling in 1987 and kind of lost interest in it in about 1993 or 94. And I would say that my favorite era is the early 80s from about 1980 to about 1992. And then after that, I'm interested in very little, to be honest. And then I got really interested in it again with New Japan in probably about 1998 or somewhere between 98 and 2000. I don't remember exactly when. But I was definitely watching a lot of New Japan by 2000 ish. And that stuff from New Japan from about 2000 to about 2004 or 2005 is probably my favorite modern era. Would it be possible to change the hex values for stage lighting and pyro? You're going to have to ask a more specific thing, like what do you want to change about it, Voodoo? Is there anything in the code regarding entrance options? Um, it seems like the update was laying the groundwork for something more. No, they did what they did. It doesn't really have anything other than what's there. I hope that they add some more stuff. It would be nice to be able to turn off the pyros and that sort of thing officially, but I'd invest a Wendy's coupon or two for the crowd cam. Um, yeah, like I said, I may mess with it. I wouldn't have a problem doing it. I've never done any of the camera stuff, so um so the major spoiler is create custom parts in the future. Just want to make sure I under um yes, but with the caveat that nothing that I tell you here is official. They if they scrap the idea, then they scrap the idea. Would it be possible to add a mod that always allows you to determine the winner, sort of like a Booker mod? No. Um, it well, yes, but no. It could be done, but it would not be what you're thinking, and so it would be more of a if this wrestler who you didn't select to win is the one doing the submission or pinfall, just don't allow it to occur. Um, and so matches could go on for ridiculous amounts of time when they shouldn't, and that sort of thing. So, while it is possible, it's probably not as desirable as you'd imagine it being. No, I am not an Attitude Era guy. That was kind of the like I said, since I think ECW and the Attitude Era kind of ruined wrestling for me, I just I've never been able to get into that stuff. Even going back to it now, um, the color of pyro and lighting. Um, I honestly don't know. I think that the pyro itself is a fixed, like sprite animation, so I don't think that you can change the color on that. But the lighting can definitely be changed. I've never attempted it, but I think that it can be. So, let's see, where am I now? Is fighting in the crowd possible, even if it involves just... yes, yeah, you can clip through the crowd. I've never tried it, but that was actually one of the first things that Mike DG, the guy who created the PWGR patcher, that was one of the first things he did was move. He moved the entire ring out into the crowd without actually moving the ring graphics. So he just moved the entire all both of the wrestlers and all of the ropes and things out into the crowd, and the wrestlers just clipped through the crowd without a problem. Adding zoom and position in the pause menu would be great. Yeah, I the thing is that right now UI editing is super difficult. So adding it to the actual pause menu is probably not something that I could do without really screwing stuff up. But I might be able to add another window to the already overcrowded PWGR screen that allowed you to move the camera. Would it be possible to replace the percentage rating with a Meltzer style star rating? Yeah, literally it's just a float that gets turned into to text. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean you could make every shitty Okada Omega match a fucking 6-star affair if you wanted to. It looks faded as fuck, huh? Well, you'd have to yell at Spike about that. They added the weird overlay. I tried to remove it and did the best I could, but it still looks faded. The problem is that they when I originally wrote the matte texture mod, it used the main texture slot for the model, but now if you use that slot, it's expecting a 8-bit alpha transparency image, and that's it. Um, so they've switched all of the Ring graphics to use a decal slot. So I need to use that decal slot, but the problem is that the decal slot has the main slot layered on top of it, and there's nothing that I can do about that, unfortunately. Confront and grab backles or backles. Confront and back grapples be added to priority links. Yes, this already exists in the public testing mod suite that I released yesterday. You need to use my current what is it? The multi moveset thing, but they are definitely in there, and they do work after strikes and grapple and taunts, but they do not work if the move if a wrestler is laying down. So do if you want him to grapple after after another grapple that leaves him on the ground, they won't work. Is it a possibility to use the nickname Jobber in a or trigger it? Yes, that exists in the current mod suite as well. It's in the match pacing options. Uh, it has a jobber list. I have fixed that in this coming version for what is it 9013 that does allow that to work correctly. So now they'll only really get a grapple. They'll only get a grapple win in a very small percentage of the time, or if they counter. There's nothing I can do about counters because the counters are move specific. So all of that counter data is included in the move data, and so there's no way I can really affect that just because it's a specific wrestler. Any new weapons being added in the future? Um, Not that I've seen. Certainly could be a possibility. ECW in the Attitude Era ruined a lot for everyone. Yeah, I mean, it also brought a lot to wrestling for certain people too. I mean, there's a reason that people like that era. I'm just not one of those people, so. Will we be able to implement WW? Probably not. That's something that Spike would have to. They'd have to change the way the overlays work, and I just don't know if they're going to ever do. I don't think they're popular in Japan, and you've got to remember that they're a Japanese company with Japanese developers that use Japanese wrestling as a base for the most part. So different no, no, there are no different apron styles in the code. It's just one apron that gets applied to everything. There's only one ring model. Um, well, technically there's two. There's also the octagon or dodecagon or whatever they have. Unorthodox question. Would it be possible to assign a wrestler who has guts and, by extension, reborn, do or die? They go into KO'd state when beaten by a submission. Um, yes, they already do a check for guts in the submission stuff. So you could easily do it so that instead of just a wanna give up, which is what the bool is that gets triggered when a wrestler submits, you could change it to is KO, which is the which is the KO thing, and at that point the referee should also call the match. So yeah, that should be possible. It could be possible to add another drop down for apron type similar. Yeah, I mean if they officially did it, then yeah. The problem is that they'd have to add another ring model. How about a battle royal where you play as Um, yeah, sure. Um, that's kind of an awkward question. Yeah, no. As far as the mats are being washed out, yeah. The problem is that the main ring texture is meant to look sort of like a worn out ring to add texture. To see if you look at the royal ring texture, there's really no texture to it at all. It's just a flat image, that is part of the ring. And I think Spike wanted to avoid that kind of flatness, and so they added this kind of like washed out look. And if you got rid of that, then yes. The problem is that you can't get rid of it without washing out the mat some, as far as we know. Placeholder heads, no, not that I've seen. Um, to be totally honest, most of the edit parts and everything aren't represented in the code at all. They're in the resources.assets file, and so they just hang out there, and the game loads them as it needs them. Besides Fire Pro World, what was my favorite Fire Pro game? Returns. They've all gotten better um, with each one. I'm one of the few people that thought that Z was better than D, and Returns was better than Z, and World is better than Returns. So it's I think that it's one of the few series that really has improved with each thing. Oh yeah, no, the ropes don't even have texturing. They are literally a Unity rectangle sprite stretched across the length of the ring. Um, so yeah, that's why they look the way that they do. Are run-ins possible? No. The way that wrestlers are loaded into a match. So there are 8 slots that a wrestler can be loaded into, and they basically, um, unless you use that timed battle royal thing, they're all present at the beginning of the match, and there's no way for me to change that personally. So you can work around it by setting up a time battle royal and having the interference that way, but there's no way to do a run in. Um, Yeah, there's no way for me to do it. I'll use my first attire here since we used my second already. And I'll go up against this guy. Just cause. So. Is there a way to take a photo of the whole ring showing? What I generally do is run down to the bottom corner, and that zooms the ring out. That zooms the screen out enough that you can see the whole ring. Other than that, not currently. I'm sure I asked this, but would it be possible to assign up to 3 individual? Um, yes, since it's an enum, I could give a guy every special skill literally. But it just wouldn't. There'd be no way to save it in the edit data. So, like, if you uploaded a guy with three special skills, um, they wouldn't. It wouldn't transfer over the workshop or anything. It would only save the first one. Because the over the top question, something I've never understood. Why is it when you select over the top as a lose condition, only the run and 3D toss will trigger it? Well, it's because they're checking for different things. Um, the code literally is just checking for different stuff. You could change the over the top in the you could change it so that both of them were the same. I just never cared because I don't use over the top as a win condition, I guess. So I've never messed with it. How long do you think you'll continue adding new features to the mod suite once Spike stops updating the game? Um, I have no idea, to be honest with you. I'll keep updating the mod suite when I keep thinking of, as long as I keep thinking of things to add or change or have stuff that I want to try to do with it. Um, I can't really give a better answer than that. There's just no solid answer to that. Favorite Japanese wrestling game besides Fire Pro, and why is it KOC? Because King of Colosseum is just the best wrestling game I've ever played. The engine is just far superior to Fire Pro. The AI logic is far superior to Fire Pro. The graphics, the animations are superior to Fire Pro. It's just a better game. How quickly would I drop Fire Pro World if KOC 3 was announced? Um, if it was on the Unity engine, pretty quick. I'm just gonna be honest. Six Man Scramble had the best sound. Yeah, Human in general had better sound stuff than Spike. The sound went downhill as soon as Spike took over the sound. What kind of sandwich did I eat tonight? Tuna melt. Uh, Me and my son like tuna melts, and my wife is at work. She does not really like tuna melts, so we went for tuna melts. The edit system isn't superior to Fire Pro. Um, no, appearance wise, no, but moveset wise, AI logic wise, all of that stuff. even skill, like what they call skills in Fire Pro, is just more in depth in KOC. So as long as you can put up with a slightly less interesting appearance edit, it spanks Fire Pro even in the edit mode. Did you like No Mercy for the N64? Yeah, when it came out, I don't have the rose-colored glasses that everybody else does about No Mercy, though. It was good for its time. I've tried playing it since then, and it's not really that good now. It did not stand up, and I know that some people don't agree with me, but they're not going to change my mind, so... Do you have any tuna melts left to share? Yeah, sure. We actually do have some extra tuna, so... Thoughts on Orange Slush? I've only actually probably seen one or two Orange Slush matches. Um, they're fun. Um, I think I saw him in one of Tiger Sword's Lazy Sunday tournaments, and I think on one of your streams. Have you ever played TEW? Yeah, I have all of them, I think, up through 13. I actually like Wrestling Spirit 1 and 2 better than Total Extreme Warfare, to be honest. And to be completely honest about text-based simulators, I'm a TNM guy. I got into TNM when it was like TNM 6.13 or TNM 5 point something. So before Oliver even started charging for it, and I always saw TEW was a game, whereas TNM was more of a tool for telling a story about a promotion or wrestling, and I just always enjoyed that more. Have you actually played Fire Pro proper? Yeah, I mean, I opened it up pretty much the first night that it came out, and started messing around with it, um, but you know, I've been playing Fire Pro since like 1996 or 95 or something. So I played plenty of vanilla Fire Pro. Matt Dickey. Matt Dickey's games are a fun train wreck for about an afternoon, and then after that, I lose all interest in them. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling? Um, I Harley Race, Ted DiBiase, Steve Williams, and the fourth spot could go to a whole bunch of guys. I really couldn't tell you. Papa Shango, because you can't ever go wrong with Papa Shango. Who is the greatest wrestler of all time, and why is it Jumbo? Harley Race, and it's not Jumbo because it's Harley Race. Just give it to Jake Roberts and move on. Well, since I'm not making the Mount Rushmore of alcoholic crackheads, I don't know whether Yeah, yeah. Um, have you? No, I don't. To be honest, wrestling is It's not a passing hobby. It's just my main hobby is music. I am a walking encyclopedia for black metal and death metal and thrash. I've been writing letters and trading tapes since probably for about 24 years now, since I was about 11 or 12 years old. Um, so that's my main thing, and that's where I focus a lot of my free time that isn't dedicated to the mod suite. Would it be possible to tweak move data to have the move auto ring out a foe? Yeah, that actually is in the move data. I didn't expose it because it's not. It's actually in the move animation data, and I don't feel comfortable with my understanding of that well enough to expose it to you guys. So it's not there. It's not exposed, but it is there, and it is possible. Drunkenly diving out of the ring mode at any possible time. That just sounds like Teddy Hart mode to me, and no. The I could make the wrestler dive out pretty much anytime I wanted, but I but it's just the way that they have it checked now works pretty well, and I don't really want to mess with things that work pretty well. What do I do for a living? Well, that's a. I'm actually back in school after injuring myself at my previous job. I have a degree in education and history. That's my that's my profession, I guess. I'm back to get a higher degree in education right now. So I'm currently not working because I'm living off of income from the injury, and that's why I have so much time to dedicate to the mod suite. On the more extreme styles of doom metal. So you're talking funeral doom like Torture Wheel and Evoken and well, I like Dismemberment and Thurgothan is okay. Monarch is good. I like some of it. I'm not a gigantic fan of the really slow stuff, to be honest. To be honest, I could actually mod that guy in popping up and saying toasty instead of critical or whatever. That wouldn't actually be that difficult. What do you hate most about Vanilla Fire Pro Wrestling that you haven't found a fix for? Um, I honestly don't know. I don't hate anything about the vanilla game, really. I mean, there's some stuff that I'd like to see changed, obviously, but yeah, nothing that I'm not like, or nothing that couldn't be fixed by Spike, or that I couldn't fix if I dedicated enough time to it. Um, I guess my big thing now is that I would like to see a less convoluted way of batch deleting wrestlers. It's just a giant pain in the ass. Oh, excuse me, a giant pain in the ass to delete more than one. And so that would be a really nice thing to see, and it's something that I get a request for all the time, and I always tell people that I won't do it because the current way of dealing with wrestler deletion is an enormous pain in the ass. What I got the guy? You can actually. There is a way to mod the crowd and the announcers. It requires 5 new sprites though, so I haven't really exposed it because I figured people are not going to want to sit around and create 5 consecutive sprites um, for each item. And so, like, for the crowd, there's more than one section, so you'd have to update the whole crowd with 5 sprites each. But yeah. What is your favorite thing about WWE 2K18? Um, I got it when it came out. Um, I enjoy playing it. I really do. I think that the 2K games have been great. There are lots of little things that even Fire Pro doesn't do. But I haven't played it very much. Partially because I'm a computer guy, and partially because my son enjoys it, so he plays it. But I I just enjoy the 2K games, the 2K18, uh, for what it is. It's just a fun wrestling game. Um, Saving changes and everything. Yeah, I agree that the UI needs a serious overhaul, and I remember that Dave and the director, I can't remember the director's name, I'm sorry, but they did say that an a UI update is coming, um, but it's probably not high on their list until they get all of the bugs with the way that the computer wrestles and that sort of thing out of the way first. Matsumoto, that's it. Yep. Thank you. Is there a way to make a Control F find tool for? No, unfortunately not. The way that those menus work would make it very hard to do something like that. It's not impossible. It just would be very hard. The battle, I do not even know what the Battlefront 2 controversy is. I don't play very many video games. I'm not really a gamer. Um, I play Fire Pro and Madden, MLB The Show, and Crusader Kings. You know, so uh, yeah, I'm not up on that kind of stuff. Favorite wrestling show pay per view? Royal Rumble '92. I don't even have to think about that. Royal Rumble '92 is just by far my favorite. Um, what are your thoughts on overblown amount of flipping in wrestling? I'm a Jim Cornette guy as far as this is concerned. I like wrestling to look real. I like it when moves mean something. I would rather watch two guys pound each other with punches and kicks and have that hip toss actually mean something than guys that just fucking flip around and pile drive each other for 30 minutes and then everybody is amazed, and it just doesn't, that to me is boring. And I don't care. I'd rather have guys who have 5 moves in their move set, but every move means something, than guys who do 600 moves in a match and impress everybody with how many moves they can do. What features would I like to see added to the vanilla game? I kind of already covered that in some of the things that they have in the pipeline that I'm excited about. As far as things that are just kind of out of left field, I would really like to see them implement some of the stuff that I've done, like a less buggy false count anywhere match, for example, or lucha tag rules, or and I would also really, coming totally out of left field, I would really like to see them implement a clutch system like King of Colosseum had, um, but that probably is not going to happen. Royal Rumble 92 was Heenan's greatest moment as an announcer. Every time Heenan got on the mic was his greatest moment as an announcer, except for his WCW run. What moves do I most want to see added to the game? Being a fan of like 80s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s wrestling, rest holds. I want to see the real basic stuff, that a hip toss, a full Nelson, a a standing wrist lock, that sort of thing. What was my favorite Harley race match? I don't know. He's had tons of good ones. It would be really his match against Flair at Flair for the Gold probably is the one that I've watched the most. Oh yeah, no, the grounded weapon collision system I would really like to see implemented into the game because they could do it better than me. Um, I the way that I have it done works, but there's the delay, and I don't hate the delay, but I would really like a system without the delay. Do I dabble in tabletop games? Yeah, yeah, I sure do. I don't play a ton of them these days, but I grew up playing D&D and all of that stuff. Like I said, I like metal and black metal specifically, so I mean, it would have been impossible for me to grow up as a teenager enjoying that stuff and not play D&D and that sort of thing. Some of the stories I've heard about Harley Race, not so class act, but definitely an interesting guy. I definitely enjoy like watching some of the shoots with him and stuff. Would I be able to watch a 50s or 60s wrestling match? Yeah, maybe. I haven't watched a whole lot of like the 50s and 60s stuff, but what I've watched is still enjoyable to me. I do not like anime. Um, it just I have not seen an anime that I really enjoy. Um, just not my thing. Yeah, Freddie Blassie was a guy that I really enjoyed the what little bit I've managed to find and see. So yeah, Berserk. Yeah, like I said, I haven't managed. I liked. I do have a best friend of mine who was really into that when he was in college, and he introduced me to like the original One Piece, not the stuff that they ported over and that Funko or whatever the hell puts on American television. But that wasn't like awful, but I couldn't get into it a whole shit ton or anything. But so yeah, I'm just like I said, wrestling or anime is just not my thing. I tried what little bit I could, and do seconds have taunts loaded up in the game, or are they? Um, I don't actually know. Right now, seconds, they're they're basically just standing there, and they don't really do anything from their moveset. But I know their moveset is available because they're still what the game considers a player object. And as a player object, they have what the game calls a wrestler param, which contains all of the moveset data. So it is totally possible that I would be able to access that information at some point, or program seconds to actually grapple or do moves. Seconds in S1 bout. I don't see why it couldn't be done. I've been messing with the menu screen because somebody wanted me to try to enable seconds in a title match, and I haven't figured it out yet. But it's not impossible to do. It's more just me trying to figure out which variables affect wrestler selection in the menu match setting screen and that sort of thing. So really, it's yeah, it's possible, and I'm working on trying to figure all of that stuff out currently. Seconds may actively attack. I've actually never seen that happen, so um, that's cool to know. But like I said, I've never seen it happen. But that also means that their move sets are definitely accessible. Yeah, I could definitely make seconds do taunts and things like at random intervals or after a wrestler hits his signature or finisher or that sort of thing. That wouldn't really be hard to do at all. Hey, Denizen. Um, I don't actually know if I can add a mod that would change standing strikes to add groggy. It's all done in the what I think it's done in the apply damage method, and that would be universal to everything. So yeah, I mean, well, it might be possible. It's not like I can just check a box off on the move and say, well, make this one leave an opponent groggy. We need a mod for the ambulance from the first Madden game. Um, that'd be interesting. Um, I what's my thoughts on the world appearance editor as compared to returns? It destroys returns in every way. I don't miss gradients at all. I think people who are still whining about gradients or still concerned with gradients or still not playing the game because it doesn't have gradients are they're just whiny assholes and they need to get with the times. Um, I'm sorry if you're friends with guys like what the hell is this skull trauma or whatever, but it's fucking stupid at this point. Move the fuck on. Yeah, I've actually enjoyed doing this too. I might do another one again after some time has passed and I've done more things. So, um, oh God, yes, that is something I would love to see fixed. To go back and answer a question about the thing that bugs me most about the vanilla game that I have not been able to fix, it's the layering, the holes in the layering system. I really wish that they'd figure that out. That drives me nuts. Uh, did you post a Zip Japan ring texture on the? No, I haven't. It's yours. Go ahead, do whatever you want with it. I made it for Zip Japan. You can do anything you want with it. The overall contrast and no, what's available to me in the parts editor stuff is the alpha channel, so the transparency, the red, blue, and green values, and that's all I can change. Good lord. And another thing I would like, and I know that I could enable the cache to help with it, but it's the delay in the menu screens. Yeah, yeah, that's part of the problem, and the bald heads that they added as like cover-ups for those missing pixels, um, they're some of them are too big to layer another hair over because they poke through. So that's just kind of obnoxious. Size and weight class. No, not really at this point. Again, it's just one of those things that could be changed, but it would require so many changes that it's not something that could be modded. Spike could probably do it pretty easily if they were so inclined to do so, but to be honest, I don't know why they chose the word gruesome fights. Just what they called it. S- Spike had an MMA mode in Fire Pro pretty much since the time that Pride was really like a kind of passing interest in the US. So it's just that's what they chose to call it, I guess. Um, Loading. I honestly, my loading times are pretty minimal. It doesn't really bother me that there's no loading screen. Is there a load screen during the demo sequence? I've had that demo turned off for so long because it isn't good for mods that I don't even know that there's a loading screen there. Was there gruesome in G? It's been so long since I've played G that I don't even remember. But it totally could be in G, which would predate Pride. Special didn't have gruesome fighting that I remember. It's again, it's been a long, long time, so y'all have probably played it more recently than I have. What are my overall thoughts on the dev team? I guess I can talk about this now since Dave sent me the email. So the dev team is fully aware of the mod suite. They are um, they're aware that they're free to use whatever they need from it. I was actually contacted by Dave about possibly working with them, but their lawyers actually nixed it. So I don't. He didn't really give a solid thing except that it would set a bad precedent for modding in the future. Because essentially what that would be doing is setting up the idea that modders own their mods and that Spike had to ask permission or get consent to use features found in mods. So they couldn't officially work with me, but he did say that they are using the mod suite as a sort of a sounding board for ideas, I guess. Why not? The Suda 51 story was like one of the most awesome, weird twists in like video game history, not even wrestling history. I am actually less optimistic about how long they will support it after release. I think that it has the devs will see a potential for one or maybe two DLCs. But after that, I mean, it's a small team in a niche game with a dedicated but small fan base, there's gonna come a point where they've gotten everything that they can get from a business standpoint out of the game, and they're gonna have to move on. Intergender match because random. Um, yeah, I miss Cease. He used to come into all of my streams, and he was always active in all of the little weird things that I did with the community. Um, he was a great guy, and I miss him dearly. I actually found a Christmas ornament this year that had the colors that he used that I most associate with him, the purple, silver, and gold. And so I bought it, and it will end up on my tree every year. Their main, yeah, no, I know that their target audience is on the PlayStation, but also I really feel like the modern console gamer is more fickle than it used to be, especially with digital stuff. And so I don't think that Fire Pro is going to have the longevity among most players that aren't already playing it on the PC that it did in the PS2 days and before. And so I think that they're going to find that their main base is going to start becoming, or their main base for longevity is going to start becoming more PC centric. Cement style edits. Yeah. Um, I have the I have no problem with cement style edits. It's just it depends on what the other edits you're putting it up against are designed for. If you're looking to finish a match, but every other edit is looking to finish a match, then there's no problem with it. They can still put on a good match. If you put on an edit whose main goal is to just win at all costs against an edit whose main goal is to put on a good match at all costs, it's going to be a shitty match. Um, Yeah, I have been running my own like fantasy promotion Royal Ring since Fire Pro R was released, and before that I was running Neo Wrestling Japan, but I didn't release any of those edits. That was on Fire Pro D. So Royal Ring started up in about 2005, and I've been releasing the edits since about 2007, I think. Um, Thoughts on a pacing overhaul? I think that match pacing in Fire Pro is something that's sorely needed. Um, and I think part of that comes from the community. I know that some people are going to disagree with this, but if your edit is geared to put on a 20-minute match every time it gets in the ring, your edit sucks ass. Um, that's not how wrestling is generally. It's boring. It's boring to watch an edit that does that every single time. And part of that can be fixed by Spike fixing the way that matches are paced and giving us some options. And part of that needs to be because the edit creators just need to stop creating edits that are geared for marathons and not for a sprint. Do I think there will be a way to get edits over from Steam to the PS4? I do not. The PS4, Sony has been fairly douchey about their edit transfer stuff or about their save transfer stuff. I know that there is apparently a game or two that works with the PC or whatever, but generally speaking, that is not the case. So I would certainly not count on it for a tiny developer like Spike to have the clout to get Sony to change their general policy on it. Um, there won't be any mods on the PS4. Um, Custom music is a possibility if Spike wants to write their own code to access a USB stick and import that into the save data space that FirePro has assigned to it. And I know I missed a couple of questions. I just saw that one and thought I'd answer it. Um, Thoughts on the Fire Pro anthology? Thoughts on the $200 Fire? If Spike can make some money off of it and people want it, fine. I mean, I'm not against that sort of stuff. I wouldn't spend my money on it. I don't even think that I'll buy a PS4 version of the game, to be honest, because I've got the game already. I won't play it on the PS4. So, but if people want to spend their money on gimmick stuff because they want to support Spike or they enjoy it, then awesome. Do you think that this will truly be the final Fire Pro game? I don't know. I thought that R was going to be the final Fire Pro game, and then they announced one for the Xbox 360 that turned out to suck ass, and then they announced this one, so I don't know. Um, Pickled Midget, did you ever play Superstar Pro Wrestling? It was a card and dice game. I had it when I was a kid in the late 80s or early 90s. It was super fun. I converted that to Tabletop Simulator while I was waiting for World to come out. Um, See, that's names nine. I don't think that that's generally true. Japanese wrestling matches can be longer, um, especially if they're main event matches. But so can American main event matches go 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Um, it just depends. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw like a match, two matches into the card, even in Japan, go 18 or 20 minutes. I actually didn't hate Iron Slam. Um, it was entertaining for the time. Not great, but entertaining. Um, yeah, I really. One thing that I really wish that they did not add is online. I know that some people really like online and they think that online will sell the game. But nobody plays Fire Pro for competitive online matches. It's just I don't know. The community just I have never met a person in the community who's ever had more than like kind of a well, it would be cool sort of passing interest in it. Fire Pro has always been about simming matches for most people that I've run into. Yeah, the net play issues are definitely a thing. What do I think the match mode? It's judging from what little bit of code is currently in there regarding like the matchmaker mode or GM mode. It's going to be very similar um, to what we had for management of the ring. There's already code for things like merchandise, which was part of management of the ring, that sort of thing. Um, Yeah, I could see it being fun online if you're working a match with somebody, and you would all. I honestly think you would also need a mic to really take advantage of that. And I don't know whether it really supports voice chat between the players, so that would be something that they would have to add and really get working. And considering that it's such a timing based game, it might eat um, you know, bandwidth, even though I'm sure that most players have more than enough bandwidth to do this, but it really depends on how the game handles it and all of that stuff. So, would it be possible for editors to make their own individual fighting styles? Um, no, I don't think so. It's the fighting styles don't actually. There isn't like a database of them really. It's just a whole bunch of numbers pulled from the code and then some from the text files that are in resources.assets. Since they're kind of a hodgepodge of where that data is contained, I don't think it would be possible for users to just kind of create their own. Yeah, there'll definitely be voice chat on the PS4. I mean, yeah, because you can voice chat just by adding somebody to a party. Yeah, you could use Discord on the PC. That would work. Yeah, when Discord is working, I've had tons of problems with Discord over the last couple of days. Um, Custom special skills. Um, the thing with custom special skills is that I could add them because I have access to the code. You could not add them because they're what they do is they're checked against when certain things that they affect are checked against. So, like if I wanted to add a special skill that made your finisher always submit somebody, like like a death submission, I could do that. If the wrestler had that special skill, but you wouldn't be able to just define that somewhere like in an editor that I included and then have it work. And Senator, I've actually already mentioned this, but it is possible for edits to have more than one special skill. Um, it's in an enum which can be combined and stored, but I do not think that they would store across the workshop. So basically, it would be you would basically only have the first one if you downloaded an edit that had more than one special skill. Um, that's hard to answer, Voodoo. For me, the glory days where the game facts days with D. Return, the Fire Pro Club with Return was cool when the Fire Pro Person Pack started up again, and that was nice. But for me, the glory days will always be the early 2000s on GameFAQs with guys like Muka and Sunnybone and Trauma Taker and Geese, and so. But that's just me. Denizen, custom parts are actually probably a thing that it will happen. There is already a custom part maker in the game, so it definitely is something that Spike is trying to implement for us. Like I said earlier, what I tell you in here is not official, and Spike, it's their decision whether they want to include it or not. So things might get scrapped or canceled. So what I'm telling you in here is only what I've seen in the game, but they're not official. Um, I don't think I've changed very much as far as like my permissions are concerned, Pickled Midget. You might be able to post a link. If you can, let me know, and I can try to change it if anybody knows how to do that. I'm not like a professional streamer or anything, so I really don't know. And I have no idea what happened to Troma. Yeah, the Stoner. I still call it this the Stun Cold Stoner sometimes. Oh, it was an edit pack in Z, not D. That Zurich stole stuff for. Unless he did it for D too. But basically, Zurich killed the Fire Pro Z community by stealing edits and not giving credit and that sort of thing. And to be fair, I understand like where people are coming from, especially guys who spend a lot of time on their logic and that sort of thing. I get why they wouldn't want them to be um, like shared without their permission, or why they would be, like more less interested in having people include them in compilation packs. I've always been a guy that just probably I've always been a guy that just sits on the side that get permission. I don't care if people want to do compilation packs as long as the person who you're compiling is okay with it. I actually haven't really paid attention to the Brock Lesnar head, so I couldn't give my opinion on it. Um, yeah, I've never really run into anybody who's super shitty about sharing their work, or not wanting it included in those compilation packs. So the problem is that there are those people who just don't ask, and those people are just they're not they're it's a detriment to the community, really. It's just don't be a dickhead, just ask. 90% of the time, people are just going to say, fine, that's cool with me. Yeah, I picked these two guys because I was thinking about the GameFAQs days, and both Fat Dave and Spunk were active on the GameFAQs days. I don't even know which guy has hundreds of tweaks to other people's edits. Honestly, Steam has been both a blessing and a curse for me. It's not as bad as fucking Facebook. Facebook has been the absolute worst place to announce releases and stuff of the mod suite, which is why I stopped doing it. Um, but Steam has had its fair share of idiots too. That RMP asshole can fuck off and die. But other than that, they're just kind of like any other forum. RMP, he was this guy who accused me of holding the Fire Pro community at ransom and couldn't take a joke and started saying that I was a terrible parent and all kinds of other stuff because he was a miserable little cocksucker who just couldn't wrap his head around the fact that my kill switch comment was a joke born out of the necessity to harass people not to patch their game with a outdated mod suite. Oh yeah, Reddit is bad too. I won't even go there anymore. Reddit is seriously just a trash site. Can a mod be made that allows large damage moves? Yes. I could technically allow that right now in the multi move set editor, but I haven't. I did allow you guys to pick as many special and finisher moves as you want for each edit using that mod. Um, but yeah, I could allow you to use weak grapples in the or strong grapples in the weak grapple spot. The game doesn't care. Just so long as the move is a front grapple move, it will work in any front grapple slot. Thoughts on the almighty dial-up internet? I had dial-up internet until I was like 22 years old or something. So shit, like 2004. I don't know. That's when I got high-speed internet. I was not. Um, I didn't use the internet a whole lot for a long time. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel about that RMP thing. Um, it was I can handle being heckled and harassed. I'm a grown ass man. I don't worry about shit like that. But when he started getting really personal about it, and not providing any proof that I was really holding the community at ransom, and you couldn't see the air quotes I was doing there, but yeah, that's when it just got stupid. I've got no respect for the guy at this point. He just acted like a complete asshole and pretended like he was some important guy with his fucking, modern edits or whatever the fuck he was releasing to the community. Like the community was somehow gonna be missing his shit. Like he was doing something that 20 million other people on the workshop are not already doing. And that, like he was some guy that that people should care about, and it's just like, dude, nobody cares what your opinion is, if you are going to accuse me of something, provide proof or fuck off. Um, yeah, I would like to see the grapples available in any slot too. I think restrictions are generally kind of silly. A lot of it is artificial. Like I said, the game doesn't care, so it doesn't really make any difference what slot you put shit in, especially if you're using, the logic to make it so that your high damage move in the low damage slot doesn't happen in low damage. It shouldn't matter. The reversal system is based on skill slot though, not on move. So if you put a power bomb in your low damage moves, the game will treat it like a low damage move, and it will not be countered at the beginning of a match. Yeah, BBS's. That's where I got my start too. They were nice. I had a, what did I have? My first one was a 9600 dial-up modem with all the beeping and the buzzing and the, yeah. And if anybody called or your parents picked up the phone, that shit would disconnect. Is it possible to make the mist texture grayscale and then apply a color tint to it? Um, it is possible to make it grayscale and apply a color to it. It is not possible to change that color between edits. So you could have a green mist or black blood, but that would need to be universal to everything, to all edits. The large damage only backslide. I don't think I've ever seen that one, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Some of the move groupings are kind of silly. Um, no, yeah, I do want to do Royal Ring events at some point. I got a microphone so I could talk during Royal Ring events and stuff. So it is a thing that will happen in the future. But the mod suite has kept me. I have like 250 playing hours in Fire Pro, and probably 200 of those are mod suite related testing and that sort of thing. So it's been keeping me too busy to really take on any kind of project like that. What could be a mod feature that you could tick on and off? That was the it was from what the hell was that game? Blazing Tornado. That's where all of like the kind of ridiculous moves, like the fucking Kinnikuman style muscle buster. Yeah, that all they all come from that particular game. Oh, no, it couldn't be something that you could tick on and off. It literally would just have to be a universal. Um, it would have to be a universal change. Um, I don't hate the ability to drastically morph limbs. Will I use it to make ridiculous looking characters? No. Will I download like the retarded looking Dick and Balls characters that it allowed people to make from the workshop? No. But like I said, artificial restrictions are silly. So, I mean, if the game can handle it and the game is about customization, there's no reason not to let us do it. Yeah, no, me too. My layer transparency thing is not quite as nice as Mike DG's was, where he had that slider in game. But if you ever used Mike's um, version of it, it was not without problems where it would layer over itself sometimes, and you'd have like three or four alpha transparency sliders up on the screen at once, all on top of one another. But it, the fact that I can do it in the mod suite is proof that Spike can do it and better and easier for the end user if they decide to do it. So I really hope that they do. Well, I mean, they are outrageous looking Dick and Balls characters. It's not like they're real Dick. I mean, they're like Dick and round thigh characters. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've seen them. My drink of choice. I am actually not much of a drinker. I was a shitty teenager. I drank everything under the sun when I was younger, and then I grew up, and now I can't drink a single. I can't drink more than like two or three beers without waking up with a ruining hangover. So I stick to Arnold Palmer's these days. So my drink of choice is the Arnold Palmer. How often do I sim real life edits? Pretty much never. Could you have the submission last longer before a tap out? No. The way the way the game works is that every loop applies damage. During the loop and the damage application, it checks to see if a wrestler gives up, and if that check passes, the wrestler gives up. I have no control over it without seriously screwing up the way that submissions work. White bread or wheat bread, huh? I like white bread. Just I grew up in an era when was white bread wasn't considered to be unhealthy like it is now, I guess. So yeah. But, I mean, it really just depends on what you're doing with it, too. I'll take pumpernickel for certain things. Yeah, I was gonna say Zealot has already got the Frank. He just needs the beans. Favorite sports team? Even though I have a southern accent because I've lived in New Mexico for 24 years, I spent the first 12 years of my life in Boston. I was born in Framingham, Massachusetts, and so I'm a Patriots fan through and through, Red Sox fan through and through, a Bruins fan through and through. So I don't like basketball. If I did, the Celtics would probably be my team. What if sub damage was spread out over a longer loop? It wouldn't matter. The sub damage is per loop, as far as I can tell. So every loop does the amount of damage that it's gonna do. Obligated as a Seattle fan. That's fine. At least I'm not a. I've been rooting for the Patriots since fucking Doug Flutie was our quarterback or Steve Grogan, and we were not a winning team. So I'm not a bandwagon fan. I've been there when they sucked, and so you know I've been there for a long time. Punk rock music. I got into punk rock music about the same time I got into metal music. I love punk rock. I love hardcore. Um, it's just that's just the stuff that I enjoy it pretty equally. Is that Crypt Keeper teabagging that dude? Um, I, as far as Brady is concerned, I think he's great. I think that he's a fantastic quarterback. He deserves the accolades that he's getting now and going to get, but I mean, he's getting older. He's not. I was pissed that we traded away Garoppolo, to be honest. I thought Jimmy G was a really good backup, and I thought that he could be a very good next generation quarterback for us. And that, you know, I think that Brady is going to come to the end of his career here in a year or two, and now we've got nobody. Do I like Max Cavalera? No. No, I do not. I think that Soulfly is god awful. Sepultura was the birth of new metal with Chaos AD. I love Bestial Sepultura's Bestial Devastation is one of my favorite albums of all time. So, so it's not that I hate his all of his work, but I really dislike quite a bit of it. Troops of Doom was on Schizophrenia though. Schizophrenia was kind of not my thing. That was kind of when I tuned out on Sepultura. I loved Bestial Devastation and Morbid Visions, and then after that, um, I don't know. I'd just rather listen to Sacrifice or Razor or something. Bledsoe. I liked Drew Bledsoe. Um, so, what is your favorite band and why is it Deftones? Um, I the Deftones hit um, after I kind of got into real underground metal, and so to be fair, I haven't heard a Deftones song since what the fuck was that one where they were trying to sound like Corn? Bored. Yeah. So yeah, the Deftones not my thing. Let's see. I actually don't know who made that Crypt Keeper edit, Denny. It's on like one of the first pages of the popular edits on the workshop. I don't usually download those sort of edits, but that one was so good that I just could not download it. But yeah, that Crypt. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a very balanced edit. I haven't really opened him up to take a look or anything. Um, I just really liked the way he looked, so I grabbed him. I did not give him the old. I mean, I will when I start. I do edit. I do theme musics in bunches, and so I just got him like 2 days ago. So when I do another theme music bunch, I'll probably do the Crypt Keeper and give him that old Tales from the Crypt theme. Um, I don't know if the album is good. It doesn't change my opinion. I'm not a music critic. I like what I like, and I like what I like because I like it. I have no opinion. I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. If if a band like so I'll give you an example of a band that I don't have respect for when so there's this black metal band called Inquisition. They had some very sketchy political opinions for a long time, but then they decided that they wanted to play larger fests and sign with a larger label. So they went back on all of their shitty, sketchy opinions, but not honestly, just publicly, so that they would appear to be more acceptable to the mainstream. Bands that do that bother me. Um, Bands that change their sound because they're growing older or interests change or something like that, I don't give a shit. That's their prerogative. They have every right to do that. If I don't like the album, I don't like the album. There ain't nothing wrong with me not liking an album. My favorite wrestling movie starring David Arquette. I feel like I maybe can't answer that. Um, because there's only one wrestling movie starring David Arquette, and to call it a favorite would be a travesty. I can't say that I don't like any of Metallica's albums, to be honest, except. So I don't know if anybody's heard them, but Metallica did these two demos, No Life Till Leather and Power Metal, where he's not trying. to sound like what he sounds like on later albums. The vocalist James Hetfield, and those demos are excellent. It's got like a more speed metal, new wave of British heavy metal sound, and I really like those. But then once they hit Kill 'Em All, he's doing that thing at the end of every fucking line that drives me up the goddamn wall. I refuse. I refuse to answer the David Arquette question. No, Saint Anger was garbage. It sounded like they were banging on a trash can. Um, I, um, yeah. I mean, Metallica's early song. I really like the Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. I really like musically, but I can't handle his vocals. I mean, when it comes to that stuff, uh, as far as like that the big four in thrash metal, I Show No Mercy and Hell Awaits by Slayer are like all you need. Free. I've never worked out to free jazz, but I could imagine that being a either a disaster or I don't even know what else to call it. It would probably be a disaster. Yeah, I guess I could see that. I mean, it makes sense that it would give you that it would get you going. It's just free jazz in general is just something that I don't have a fantastic opinion of. I mean, I can hang with some of those weird John Zorn projects, but nice Sun Ra edits. Um, I liked them. I feel the same way about Here Comes the Pain and SmackDown, and they were fun in their time. They didn't. I've gone back and I've played Here Comes the Pain and Shut Your Mouth and all those kind of recently, and they didn't hold up either. I feel the same way about them as I do No Mercy. Um, they were fun games, but they're not fun today. With better games out there. Sorry, clear my throat. Um, so I'm gonna ask y'all a question. So, what are you guys' favorite parts of the mod suite? Like, what kind of stuff like do you guys use? What should I put attention into? The foot part. I actually went and looked, and they are the same color in the game. Like when you go into edit mode, they're both using the same colors. So the fact that they're different colors in the match, it has to do with the lighting or the shadowing or something. Denny, I'm actually working on something that will allow blood to carry over between matches. So, like, if a wrestler bleeds on the match, uh, and then you start another match with this option checked, those blood stains will stay on the mat. I think it would be really cool for guys who stream shows like you. Um, Exploding bats and breaking tubes on the ground. Yeah, the light tube thing is something that I've wanted in a Fire Pro game ever since they introduced light tubes. Yeah, I can't even play without 5 counts on the rope breaks anymore. Like it just doesn't feel right to me to have them automatically break the hold every single time. It doesn't fit with a lot of characters. Um, I've actually thought about adding an automatic fall down to the exploding bats. Um, it just seems like it would make more sense, but I don't think I ever actually did it. Just because it would make them unfair. Yeah, I only did 6 priority slots. Like I did it about 2 weeks before Spike did their official update for of priority slots. I'm glad that they included it. It wasn't hard to do. And I know that they kept telling people that, oh, it's so difficult to mess with the logic, and it's like, well, no, it's not really. It's just you just got to do it. It's um, But yeah, so I've been messing around with things like the multi moveset editor, and the individual wrestler the move names, the individual wrestler move names, and I've found that really adds a lot to wrestlers. So that's kind of where I've been focusing a lot of the attention on the development time lately. Um, as far as like the priorities thing, they didn't just not promise anything. They like straight up said, "Oh, it's too difficult. We'll look at it, but it's really difficult to mess with logic." That sort of thing. Yeah, Denizen, that was in the last official update, and it's in both of the public updates, and the move names carry over and everything. Which move is missing in the move data editor? I would wait, Denny, until I get an official version out. The testing version, I'm still getting reports of bugs and things. Oh yeah, no, the battle royal thing was, and the problem that I have with things like that is it's so easy to do, and I think that Spike just didn't think about it. And so, and now that they're busy with other stuff, it's just trying to find time to fit it in, and they're just not making enough time for it, even though it took me like a whopping hour and a half maybe to implement. So with the battle royals, I made it so that teammates don't attack each other. That was the first thing, and then I also made it so that wrestlers will not break up a pin unless it's their teammate or the battle royal mode is set to the first win. Yeah, I mean, I update a lot. I have a bad habit of just kind of, I'll write code and I'll test the code and then I'll release it instead of just doing it like once a week with a bunch of things or whatever. So sometimes you'll get like 3 updates in one day. So yeah, it can be a little bit of a hassle, and I do realize that, but it's just the way I've always operated with this sort of thing. Would it be possible to link any move together like chokeslam to tombstone? No. Priorities right now. I can link together like a standing strike and a grapple, a taunt and a grapple, but a grapple and a grapple can't happen. Um, it just doesn't work because the conditions aren't met. So the guy will just try for the next thing. No, grapple taunt grapple won't work either because they'll grapple, they'll do the move, they'll taunt, and the wrestler will still be on the ground. It needs to be um, it needs to be something that leaves them standing so that when the game attempts the go for grapple method, it will it will be able to complete. You can't set a pickup as the beginning move of a priority though. Um, right now, no. The go to grapple. method doesn't have a it doesn't have a parameter for wait for them to get up or wait if down or something like that. So it can't be I can't tell a wrestler to wait. See, I've had no problem with this. Right now I have the mod suite set up so that only pinfalls that don't happen off of a signature or finisher um, get broken up if they're in the ropes. And other people have been having like soft lockups where the game will lock up if that happens. So it's kind of weird. Spike is trying to include it. Like the code is there, it exists, and I mean I'm taking advantage of it for the mod suite. So it is something that they want to do and that they're actively working on. So I would be willing to bet that it will happen. It's just not going to happen. Probably not going to happen in the next update or something like that. They would need to. It looks like they would need to figure out or add a method for picking a wrestler up off the ground. Um, um, and then continuing the priority sequence. Right now, if you pick a wrestler up off the ground, it will end the priority sequence. No, there's no new belt parts in the code at all. There's not even indication that they're going to change the way that belt edit works right now, which kind of sucks because I miss being able to change the plate and the side plates and all of that stuff individually. The guy in the red is a port using Freem's FirePro save tool from FirePro R. So he probably still has some shoot stuff that I left in there before I had access to all of the move data. But yeah, I am very much against MMA grappling and like MMA takedowns and stuff in a wrestling moveset. You'll notice that Spike included most of the moves that wrestlers would do from those mounts as their own moves in whatever situation that they're applicable to. So they just weren't intended for wrestling use. Yeah, not a problem, Denny. Have a good night, man. Strong style. I just, and honestly, it's like strong style and 80s WWF. I really like old 80s WWF matches. They're just fun to watch to me. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and there were some more contrived moves, but they weren't so contrived that it really took you out of the suspension of disbelief. You know. Have a good one, Ninja. Yeah, I mean, really, yeah, the 80s promos were just I mean, some of those guys were just so good on the mic. I mean, and there were some guys that like were just really good on the mic and even just they're good workers and they just get overlooked. Like Dr. D, David Schultz, one of my favorites, and you never really hear people talking about him now. You know. Yeah, I'm sure there was a ton of cocaine. And if Randy Savage taught us anything, it's that cocaine makes for an excellent promo. Yeah, Mean Gene was great. I mean, I like everything about like mid mid 80s to late 80s WWF was just like perfect for the style of wrestling that they wanted to do. It just everything worked. Yeah, Jake Roberts had a gift as far as that sort of thing. The Road Warriors. I don't know. Some of that stuff I really liked. Hawk especially. Hawk was really good on the mic. Animal not so much. And honestly, I hated Paul Ellering. I hated Paul Ellering when he was a fucking superstar Billy Graham knockoff as a wrestler. I didn't like him as the Road Warriors manager. It just, I don't know. He just bugged me. Honestly, I like Jim Cornette. I tend to find myself sharing a lot of similar opinions with Jim Cornette. Cornette is probably one of my favorite managers of all time as far as like his ability to talk. it's he, he can be a bit of an he can be abrasive about certain things, and but that's his shtick, and you got to understand that his shtick is how he makes a living, you know. So Ole Anderson was like the king of I mean, Ole Anderson was great on promos. I mean, that dude just fucking and I mean, Ole Anderson is hilarious even to listen to now. You know, like seeing some of his shoot stuff, where he's trashing people. I mean, the dude is the the king of shitty old men. Arn was good too, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the thing about the Horsemen is that not only were they great in the ring, like all of the original ones could talk. Yeah, Ole hates it. I mean, Ole Anderson is like my spirit grandpa. I mean, the dude is just. I aspire to be that bitter and negative when I'm that age. Yeah, they they were all great workers, and like somebody asked me earlier, like how I felt about all the flippy shit, and it's like flippy shit can be fine if there's psychology behind it, and that's something that like um, you know, people think that psychology now. It seems like it seems like people think that psychology is just working one part of of an opponent or something like that, but it's not. It's about making your moves have meaning. And it doesn't matter whether you spend 30 minutes working the leg you if like every move you do to somebody's leg is a finisher level move. You know, it doesn't make it any better psychology than just doing fucking triple moonsault planchas and, you know. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm getting. I mean, it seems like I mean, and it's so prevalent that we look at edits in Fire Pro. How many guys have you made that have the super kick that don't pin after it? You know, and that's the super kick. It's a finisher level move. It's just we've gotten so used to seeing that shit so many times in a match that we don't even program our guys to pin. Yeah, I mean, I try to include a pin after my super kicks. Um, like even the ones that follow a strike exchange. I mean, there's a couple of guys that maybe I don't because they're more martial arts based or something. But generally, like there, you should pin after a super kick, or you should pin after like a pile driver or a tombstone. It doesn't matter that they're on medium damage in Fire Pro. You know, it's just people don't. It's proof that we just kind of, as even as a fan base, we don't know psychology as well as we pretend to think we do. I guess you know. Yeah, no, I get really mad when guys like edits. I've gotten edits from people, and they don't have any pins that are not priority linked. Like they will go the entire fucking match without attempting a pin until they hit one of their big moves. And that shit just nothing pulls me out of a match more than watching two wrestlers not try to finish a match. Because what are you doing? Why are these two people beating each other up if they're not trying to win? My edits have a base, like I will not set my pins lower than 10% on small damage and 15% on medium damage. Um, because they should be trying to finish the match. It should look like they're attempting to win. Um, yeah, I usually set my at large damage. I always set it at 0. Large damage should be meant for priority pins, and even Spike's default logic says that. I mean, their default logic has um, yeah, their default logic has it set to 0 and is reserved for priority pin setups. Yeah, definitely. Like if I have a wrestler who has like a backslide or a small package, I'll turn it down a little bit in the in the move categories where I use the small package or the backslide. Yeah, I've been trying, and some of my older edits don't do this, but I've been trying to avoid that pin where you hook the leg and roll over on your back, and it just looks too much like a finisher pin that should be saved for like late match. Um, because as far as match moves that won't end the match, um, what's a move that won't end the match? Like a body slam? A body slam could end the match. I mean, it could end a fight. There's no reason that they shouldn't try to pin after it. Um, it probably won't end a wrestling match, but it's part of the whole suspension of disbelief thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, pins have a game mechanic uh, thing too. They drain spirit and stamina, so it's worth trying to pin early in the match, because then when your finisher hits, that spirit is drained away and it makes you more likely to get a pin off of your finisher. So if you don't attempt for those early pins on things that won't that you think won't end the match, what's going to happen is you're going to hit your finisher and it's not going to end the match either. No, no, they don't give a spirit boost. So far, the only thing that I've found that gives a spirit boost to wrestlers, like in the match, that isn't a special skill, is if you have a submission move that's set as a critical move or a signature move, you get a spirit bonus for every loop that it's applied. But that's the only thing I've seen so far that isn't special skill related. There might be if you kick out at 2.9. Now that I think about it, but not just for kicking out of a regular pin, no. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's only near falls that trigger a spirit boost. Um, yeah, you could regenerate a Powerball and KOC for that if you had a certain skill. But it was skill based for sure. Yeah, the where the ref stands is actually controlled by a table of coordinates, and I can change those, but it's just kind of a pain in the ass to do, so I've never done it. Have a good one, Freem. Yeah, I agree, Tim's. It would be much nicer if he stood at the area closest to the wrestlers instead of like the ropes farthest away or whatever. Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, it's like I said, it's just based on. There's even the referees even have a method to find the nearest ropes and that sort of thing. So it could easily be it could easily be changed to do that. I heard a little bit about that, but I haven't actually paid much attention to it, Senator. All right, man, you have a good night. Yeah, that's pretty much about the only time the ref seems to get smacked in this game is when wrestlers are going for outside dives. It's kind of a weird situation. Yeah, no, I've seen him I've seen him get killed off of a just a regular running rope move, but generally it's the dives that kill him. Oh shit, I picked the wrong arena. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, edit making is a personal thing, and it sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not so good. It just depends on what you want. I mean, if you want edits that all play nice with each other, then it's good to have a nice uniform edit making philosophy. Yeah, I simmed him once already in this stream, and he stood outside the ring for 20 for the full 20 seconds, forking someone to death. So it ended in a draw. Yeah, I mean that should be your goal. I mean that's always been my goal. I mean, the fact that me and Denizen wrote the edit maker's guide together means that our edits generally play pretty well together, because we kind of pioneered that philosophy of edit making, I guess you could say. But my concern is making my edits play well with my edits. All right, Tim's. You have a good night. Thanks for listening. Um, you know, I most edits that I put in there with my guys manage to do okay. Um, it's because I tend to take a pretty subdued, like, I'm not looking to create guys that win at all costs or anything like that. Um, so most edits do okay. All right, midget, you have a good night. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going for too. Decent matches, and just to be interesting characters and to, but yeah, I'm not looking to like win, and I've never really cared. Like, I mean, the joke about Zilla on the work, if you downloaded him on the workshop, his description is just Zilla's here to break arms and lose matches. Because in his Fire Pro Person pack, I mean, he was not a winner. He didn't win a lot of matches. Also, remember that the I set my matches to the medium pace in my match pacing mod, which means that the edits start just before they reach medium damage. So it basically skips the entire early part of the match, which makes my matches shorter. It makes my ratings a little better. Um, or it makes my ratings a little more realistic, not better. So I get more like mid to high 70s and 80% ratings as opposed to an endless stream of 90 somethings and hundreds, which I find to be more realistic. Um, like I said, I don't like it when when every match on your card goes 20 minutes. That to me is problematic. That's not like a goal for me. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I downloaded Dakon, so he should be updated on mine if you've uploaded him to the workshop. That's fine. I mean, I've been going for what? It's been almost 3 hours now, so I'd be surprised if people still had a lot of burning questions. Um, I'm not so I like them not to hit all of their spots in every match. It just makes things more interesting when they do hit like one of their nice big spots. Yeah, I usually try to set up my edits to have at least two finishers. You know, even if I can't mark them both as finishers or I don't mark them both as finishers, I guess I can now. But yeah, I usually don't. And but I usually try to set them up to have at least two ways to finish at least two to finish a match that's believable. Yeah, I try to keep a theme with a lot of my guys too. Um, I just it just makes it feel nicer when like they build the things like if you're using a pinning double arm as a special or a finisher, like a pinning butterfly suplex, it's nice to also include a butterfly suplex in the earlier moves and stuff like that. This is something that I wish they would fix too. They need they need to add a timer for rope moves. I get that some guys do a bunch of them in a row, but most wrestlers don't. So like they need to add a timer for wrestlers who don't use like a Panther or Junior or Lucha style, so that they only do one top rope move at a time. Yeah, I've been using a lot of split priorities now that we've got 10 slots where I have one setup move and it'll have like 60% to do one thing, and if that doesn't trigger it, has a 100% chance to do the next thing. That sometimes I'll do like 50% pin, 50% sub, and then if they don't do either of those, 100% taunt. I don't think I've seen that edit. I tend to come into streams and then I end up working on the mod suite, and the stream is just kind of playing in the background. So I miss a lot of what's going on. I also hate that. Like the circle around them before you attempt the running move. And I don't know why they started doing that because it didn't used to be that way. Good lord, this guy's killing him with brainbusters. Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, the the category's already there as far as like checking it for logic stuff. It's just they only use each situation uses one or the other. So there's like low, medium, and high, and then there is low, medium, and fatal. And so the check only checks against one of those two. So the grapple only checks for low, medium, or high. You don't see that very. I'm glad they must have done a fix on those corner to center moves recently, like in this last patch, because you just never. I didn't see them at all before this. It was so rare. It crippled some of my edits that use a corner to center finisher. Yeah, maybe the increased range means that they're more likely to trigger, which is just a good thing. Cause yeah, I just wasn't seeing them. Yeah, and it's funny because their patch notes say that they fix that. They fix the direction that wrestlers run when picking a direction. Which issues were that? That's the first time I've ever seen that. Apparently, the referee takes a dive. So I guess that's broken. Oh shit. Well then. I wonder how long that referee's gonna stay down. Oh shit! Now they're both KO'd. Oh. Well, it worked like it was supposed to. It assigned both of them a draw, but it just didn't end the match. I'm gonna have to fix that. Yeah, that's actually the very first time that I've seen a 10 count um, end a match, like the where both wrestlers are down. So I'm gonna have to fix that. I don't know why the referee went down though. Like his stuff is not touched in the in that code. So yeah, I'll take a look at that. Although considering that I've simmed a lot of matches tonight, and that's the only bug we've seen, that's pretty good. I'm gonna retry that match and see what happens. So, you were mentioning another bug in the 10 count mod, Voodoo. That Soak mentioned, I guess. Which bug was that? I'm sorry, I missed it. Oh, I found it. Never mind. They don't suffer any spirit drain that I'm aware of. The ground logic doesn't get jumbled either. I've never had that happen. Yeah, I haven't had that be the case in ever at any point. I mean, this. But yeah, I mean, long matches can be awesome. I just don't like it when every match goes 20 minutes. Oh, I don't like that. I gotta fix that too. Yeah, this ref is a fast ref. That one only went 7 minutes, so. Alright, guys. I think I am out. I've got to go take care of some stuff around the house before bed, and it's like 11 o'clock here, so. But this was enjoyable, and thank you guys for hanging out and asking questions. I'll try to do this again in a little while. You know, I'm sure that most people asked everything they needed asked for now, but you know, give it a month or two, and maybe we can do another one. All right, y'all. You have a good night.